feels ordinary. People smile. They film birthdays, concerts, launches, parades, moments that look safe, harmless. But sometimes, the camera doesn't just capture joy, it records the last seconds before everything changes. Today, we'll go layer by layer, from the familiar disasters we've all seen to the darkest, most vile footage almost no one dares to talk about. This is the most disturbing videos before Disaster's Iceberg. Viewer caution is advised. Layer 1. The surface. January 28, 1986, Cape Canaveral, Florida. It was a cold morning, colder than usual. But that didn't matter. Families gathered near the coast, holding camcorders, bundled in jackets. Children waved small American flags. Teachers pointed to the sky, explaining that history was about to be made. On board the shuttle, Challenger was Krista McAuliffe, a school teacher. She was chosen to be the first civilian to travel into space. The nation watched, proud, inspired. The countdown began. Engines roared. The shuttle lifted, leaving behind a thick, white trail against the blue sky. People clapped. Some cried tears of joy. And then, it happened. The trail split. A ball of fire swallowed the shuttle. Then, there was confusion. Some thought it was part of the launch, but the seconds dragged on. The cheering stopped. The silence grew heavy. Parents pulled their children close. Faces dropped as realization spread. In front of them, 7 lives had ended. On live television, the footage was replayed across the country. It became one of the most disturbing recordings in American history, not because of graphic imagery, but because of what it captured. The joy of an entire nation turned instantly into horror. February 20th, 2003, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Inside the station nightclub, the crowd was buzzing with excitement. The band Great White had just taken the stage. Someone in the back of the room held a camera, filming the opening moments of the concert. Sparks shot upward from the pyrotechnics. At first, the audience cheered. The sparks were bright, filling the room with light. But then, they reached the ceiling. The foam lining the roof caught fire. The flames spread fast, too fast. Within seconds, smoke filled the room. The crowd screamed. People rushed toward the doors, but the exits bottlenecked. The cameraman stumbled forward, capturing the panic. He made it outside. He turned back. The building was already engulfed. 100 people died that night. More than 200 were injured, and the footage, shaky, chaotic, real, remains one of the most disturbing videos ever recorded. Not because it's gory, but because you watch joy turn into terror in less than a minute. July 25th, 2000, Paris, France. A man stood with a camcorder at the end of the runway. He wanted to capture the legendary Concorde, a supersonic jet known for speed and luxury. The plane rolled forward, engines roaring. It lifted gracefully, nose pointing upward. Then, sparks. Flames erupted from the left wing. The fire trailed like a comet, burning across the sky. The The man filming didn't stop. His voice cracked in disbelief. The plane fought to climb, struggling against gravity. It tilted sharply, and then it vanished. Seconds later, the jet crashed into a hotel, killing everyone on board and several people on the ground. The Concorde had been a symbol of progress. That day, it became a symbol of disaster. The amateur video remains haunting. A moment meant to capture beauty, ended with silence, smoke, and fire. October 24th, 2015. Stillwater, Oklahoma. It was a celebration, a homecoming parade. Families lined the streets, dressed in orange. Children waved flags. Floats rolled past. The band played. Cameras recorded smiles, laughter, community pride. And then an engine roared. A car appeared, speeding into the crowd, and never slowed down. The camera jolted. Screams cut through the music. Parents grabbed their children. People fell to the ground. In seconds, the parade had turned to chaos. 4 people were killed, dozens injured. The driver was arrested, later charged with murder. But the video remains, a record of how quickly joy can turn to horror. One moment, a parade. The next, tragedy. Layer 2. Christina Grimmie concert. June 10th, 2016. Orlando, Florida. The night was bright. Inside the Plaza Live Theater, Christina Grimmie smiled under the lights. She sang, laughed with the crowd, and thanked her fans. A camera recorded her final performance. She looked happy, at peace. Nobody knew that. Only minutes later, she would be gone. After the show, Christina stood at the merch table, signing autographs, hugging fans, posing for selfies. Security was light, too light. And somewhere in the line was her killer. He carried 2 handguns, hidden in his bag. The footage of her last concert is haunting. You see her, full of life, pouring her heart into music. The crowd cheering, unaware. And then the camera cuts, because what came next, no one wanted to capture. Moments later, she was shot at point-blank range. She died that night. Her final performance, once a symbol of joy, is now remembered as an eerie goodbye. Her voice echoing, her smile frozen in time. Egypt. 2 men went diving in the Red Sea, carrying a small waterproof camera. The water was clear. Sunlight poured through the waves. The footage shows them laughing, swimming freely, pointing at schools of fish. Then, the mood shifted. A shadow passed beneath them. The camera tilted. A massive great white circled below. At first, the divers didn't see it. They smiled into the lens, but seconds later, the shark surged upward. The water thrashed. The camera shook violently. Then the feed went black. One of the men never resurfaced. The other was rescued, barely alive. The recording, casual, playful, turned into the chilling last moments before an attack. And watching it today, you can't help but feel the dread of what's about to happen. April 20th, 1999. The cafeteria at Columbine High School looked like any other. Students carried trays. Friends talked. Some sat laughing at tables. Security cameras captured it all, silently recording. Then, 2 figures entered. They carried bags. Heavy bags. What those cameras captured in the minutes before the attack remains some of the most chilling footage ever recorded. The calm before the storm. Students walking past, unaware, staff moving between tables, no one knowing that chaos was seconds away. When the shooting started, the tapes rolled on, explosions echoed, figures moved through the smoke. The cafeteria that looked so ordinary became a war zone. To this day, the silent security feed serves as a reminder. How quickly everything can change. How one normal morning became one of the darkest days in American history. May 6, 1937. Lakehurst, New Jersey. The camera crews were ready. The Hindenburg was landing after a long transatlantic flight. Families waited to greet passengers. A radio announcer described the scene live. The Zeppelin hovered, massive and majestic. Ropes were lowered. The ground crew pulled. Everything seemed under control. Then, it happened. A flash of fire at the tail. The flames spread instantly. The announcer's voice cracked, screaming into the microphone, "Oh, the humanity!" The camera tilted as the airship collapsed in flames, passengers leaping for their lives. The footage is disturbing, not just for the disaster itself, but for how sudden it was. One moment, a peaceful landing. The next, 36 people were dead. The video remains one of the earliest examples of tragedy captured live, a haunting reminder that history can change in seconds. The video shows a festival crowd gathered near the tracks. People laugh, clap, holding up their phones to film the fireworks exploding in the sky. The atmosphere is loud, excited. Nobody notices the train. The camera pans across smiling faces, children on shoulders, friends waving sparklers. Then, a faint horn. The crowd doesn't move. They're too distracted. Suddenly, the train barrels into frame, metal grinding, screams, bodies vanishing under wheels. The cameraman drops the phone. The lens points at the ground, tilted sideways. You hear chaos, people shrieking, crying, shouting names. When the phone tilts back up, the tracks are littered with torn clothing, shoes, and motionless bodies. The crowd scatters in panic. Some collapse, sobbing. Others stand frozen, staring at the mangled remains. The train doesn't stop right away. It drags through the crowd before disappearing into the distance. More than 60 people were killed. The footage is disturbing because of the noise. 1 second, music and fireworks. The next, the sound of screaming, the thundering train, and the horrific realization of what just happened. And the camera catches everything. The joy, the laughter, and then the carnage, scattered across the tracks. Layer 3. Tragic events caught casually. January 22nd, 1987. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The footage begins like any other press conference. Reporters shuffle in, setting down microphones. The room buzzes with idle chatter. At the podium stands Bud Dwyer, the state treasurer. He looks tired, worn down by weeks of corruption charges. Cameras roll, expecting a statement about his resignation. But Dwyer speaks calmly, too calmly. He insists he is innocent, that he has been wronged. His words drift, rehearsed, yet desperate. The reporters nod, taking notes, not sensing what's about to happen. Then, he pauses. He reaches into a manila envelope. Out comes a revolver. Gasps fill the room. Some shout no, others freeze. The cameras keep rolling. For a few seconds, he begs everyone to stand back. Nobody moves. Nobody believes what they're seeing. And then, he pulls the trigger. The shot rings out. The camera jolts, then static. The footage circulated on live television across Pennsylvania before being cut. What makes it so disturbing isn't only the act, it's the build-up, the calm press conference, the envelope, the seconds of disbelief. Watching a man's final decision unfold in real time is something that once seen is never forgotten. April 25th, 2015, Kathmandu, Nepal. The video begins with music, a wedding. The bride and groom sit under a decorated canopy, surrounded by friends and family. The camera pans across the guests, smiling, laughing, throwing flower petals. It's a beautiful moment. Then, the ground shakes. The canopy sways. The camera jolts. At first, the guests laugh nervously. They think it's small, just a tremor. But the shaking grows violent. Screams fill the air. The canopy collapses. Dust rises. The camera captures chaos. People stumbling, crying, rushing to escape. The footage cuts off abruptly. What had been a joyful celebration became one of the darkest days in Nepal's history. Nearly 9,000 people died in the earthquake. Thousands of buildings collapsed. The wedding video survives as a haunting symbol, a reminder of how fragile joy is. 1 second, music and laughter. The next, a nation buried in rubble. July 17th, 2014, Amsterdam Airport. The video looks innocent. A traveler films his friends and family boarding Malaysia Airlines flight MH17. People laugh, pull suitcases, wave at the camera. The atmosphere is light, almost playful. Someone jokes about, if it disappears, this is what it looks like. They didn't know. The camera lingers on the smiling faces of passengers boarding the doomed flight. Children wave, couples embrace. It feels ordinary, too ordinary. And then the recording ends. Hours later, the plane was shot down over Ukraine. Nearly 300 people on board, gone in seconds. The video is disturbing, not for what it shows, but for what you know comes next. Innocent faces, unaware they are stepping into death. And the person behind the camera never returned. The footage is eerie because it's casual. It's the last glimpse of normal life before tragedy struck. Watching it today feels like intruding on a ghost. Happy voices captured moments before silence. August 4th, 2020, Beirut, Lebanon. The footage begins with smoke, a small fire at the port. People in nearby buildings film it, curious but calm. The plume of grey rises into the sky. Some laugh nervously, assuming it's minor. The camera zooms in, steady, almost casual. Then, a flash. The camera jerks violently. The city disappears in a white wave. The sound arrives a second later, a deafening roar. Glass shatters. Buildings crumble. The cameraman falls to the ground, the lens covered in dust. Screams echo in the distance. The video cuts to chaos. What makes the footage chilling is how ordinary it begins. Just smoke. Just curiosity. Nobody knew that 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate were seconds from detonating. In an instant, more than 200 people were killed, thousands injured, and a city scarred forever. The video remains one of the most disturbing disaster recordings because you can feel the exact second curiosity turns into horror. May 29th, 1985, Brussels, Belgium. It was supposed to be a celebration of football. Fans packed Heysel Stadium for the European Cup final between Liverpool and Juventus. Cameras scanned the crowd, flags waving, songs echoing, fans cheering, but the energy shifted. A riot began in the stands. The footage shows chaos unfold in the terraces. Barriers bent under pressure as fans tried to escape. People climbed walls. Others were crushed. The camera zoomed in, showing terror on faces that had been smiling minutes earlier. 39 people died that night. Hundreds were injured. What makes the footage disturbing is the contrast. The joy of sport against the sudden violence. You see children crying, parents screaming. The collapse of order in a place meant for celebration. The Heysel disaster was broadcast across Europe. For many, it was the first time they watched death play out inside a stadium, live on television. The footage lingers because it's not just a disaster. It's joy transformed into nightmare in front of thousands. Layer 4. Personal, haunting recordings. The roar of engines fills the screen. Cameras pan across the track at the San Marino Grand Prix in Italy. Fans cheer as Ayrton Senna, one of Formula One's most legendary drivers, leads the race. His blue and white Williams car looks smooth, steady, almost untouchable. Then comes the corner. The car doesn't turn. Senna's vehicle goes straight, slamming into a concrete wall at over 130 miles per hour. The broadcast cuts to the wreckage. Silence spreads through the crowd. Marshals rush in. Senna's helmet doesn't move. The camera lingers, too long, on the broken car. It was May 1st, 1994. Millions of viewers watched as the race continued, unaware Senna's injuries were already fatal. Hours later, news confirmed what everyone feared. The footage is haunting because it captures the exact moment a sporting icon's life ended. The way the camera follows him into the corner and then never looks away. The camera wobbles, pointing at a crowd in Guyana. Hundreds of men, women, and children sit under a pavilion. At the front, Jim Jones speaks into a microphone. His voice is calm, almost soothing. He tells his followers this is the end, that they must drink the medicine. The footage is grainy, but you can see mothers holding their children, men nodding in agreement, and cups being passed down the rows. The people don't panic, they believe him, and one by one, they drink. This was November 18th, 1978. By the end of the day, 900 people were dead, the largest mass suicide in modern history. The recording is chilling because of the normalcy. There is no screaming, no chaos, only obedience. Watching it feels like trespassing on something that was never meant to be seen. Smiling faces, moments before silence. A man films from his rooftop. The camera captures a calm town along the coast of Tohoku. Cars move slowly down the streets. People walk, unaware of what's coming. Then, the water appears, a black wall rolling across the land. The cameraman's voice shakes as he shouts warnings. The water smashes into buildings, tossing cars like toys. People run, but it's too late. The camera zooms in on a house being swallowed whole. You can hear the terror in the man's breathing as he films destruction stretching for miles. This was March 11th, 2011. A 9.0 earthquake triggered one of the deadliest tsunamis in history. Nearly 20,000 people were killed. The footage is terrifying because it doesn't look real. One moment, a calm neighborhood. The next, an unstoppable force wiping it from existence. The footage is silent. A hallway, students walking to class, carrying backpacks, chatting casually. A figure enters the frame. He carries 2 handguns. At first, nobody notices. The students keep moving. The figure pauses, and then he raises the weapon. The screen cuts. The feed switches to another camera. This was April 16th, 2007, at Virginia Tech. Xionghui Cho killed 32 people and wounded dozens more in what became one of the deadliest school shootings in US history. The security cameras didn't capture the violence in detail, only the moments before. That's what makes it disturbing. The ordinary hallway, the unaware students, the calm seconds before chaos erupted. Watching it now feels like looking at fate, frozen on tape. Layer 5. Sinister and obscure. Pre-disaster videos. The video is shaky. A woman walks slowly, looking at the person holding the camera. She smiles, faint, almost forced. She waves once, lowers her hand, and then keeps walking. It feels harmless, just another home video. Something you'd record on vacation and forget about later. But that woman would never be seen alive again. Her name was Lamduan Armitage. In 2004, her body was found in the Yorkshire Dales. No ID, no leads. She became known only as the Lady of the Hills. For 15 years, her death was a mystery. The clip feels different when you know that. The smile doesn't look casual anymore. It looks haunting. The silence behind the camera feels heavy. You start to wonder who was filming and why. Years later, DNA confirmed her identity. In 2025, her husband was arrested. But back then, no one watching the tape could have known. They were just looking at a woman, smiling into a lens, moments before her story ended. The camera moves through dim hallways. Workers in blue uniforms laugh, cigarettes hanging from their mouths. Some wave at the lens, grinning. One man even cracks a joke. It feels normal, too normal. But this wasn't just any factory. It was Reactor 4, Chernobyl. The footage was taken only weeks before the meltdown. The men look calm, proud, like nothing could touch them. They lean against pipes, stand near gauges, unaware of what's coming. Watching it now is hard. You know what they don't. That the system they trusted was seconds from collapse. That the air around them would soon kill. Some of those men, smiling into the lens, never left alive. The tape isn't graphic. That's what makes it worse. It's casual, a normal day at work. But when you know the truth, when you know what came after, every laugh feels eerie. Every frame feels cursed. Inside the cabin, the players look happy. They're young, full of life. A camera records them laughing, singing, passing drinks down the aisle. It feels like a school trip, like nothing could go wrong. But then, the video cuts. On October 13th, 1972, the plane went down in the Andes Mountains. Some survived the crash, but survival was worse. They were stranded for 72 days. No food, no supplies, no hope. The video is chilling because of the contrast. You watch these young men smiling, clapping, alive, and you know what's waiting. You know they'll starve. You know some of them won't make it. And you know the survivors will be forced to eat the bodies of their friends. So when you look at those happy faces on the tape, you can't stop asking, who lived? Who died? Who was eaten? The laughter feels heavier the longer you stare, like it's not joy anymore. like it's a goodbye, caught on film. The footage shakes, a dusty road, old trucks rattle forward, soldiers leaning from the windows. Some wave at the camera, others shout, rifles pointed upward. In one of those trucks sits Muammar Gaddafi. For 40 years, he ruled Libya. But here, in October 2011, he was running, hiding. The convoy doesn't look strong, it looks desperate. Engines sputter. Smoke trails behind. Explosions echo in the distance. Men in the trucks yell nervously, telling the cameraman to stop filming. But the lens doesn't stop. It follows. It records. Within hours, the convoy would be destroyed. Gaddafi was found in a drainage pipe, dragged out by rebels, and killed. What makes the video disturbing isn't just the history, it's the feeling. The sense that you're watching power crumble in real time. A dictator once untouchable, now just another man, hiding in the back of a truck. And you realize you're looking at him alive in the final moments before his end. The camera sits high in the corner, black and white footage. Families stroll through the Westgate Mall. Children skip down the halls. A man carries shopping bags. It looks boring. Just another day at the mall. Then the doors swing open. People scatter. Some dive behind counters, others fall. The shooters move calmly, methodically. The camera doesn't move, it just watches. Silent. Cold. This was September 21st, 2013. Al-Shabaab militants stormed the Nairobi Mall. 67 people were killed, hundreds injured. The CCTV is hard to watch because of the silence. No screams, no chaos in the audio. Just still images of life being erased in seconds. The parents clutching their children. The shoppers are crawling on the ground. The gunmen moved like shadows across the frame. And the camera never looks away. It just keeps recording until there's nothing left to see. Layer 6, rarely seen, disturbing omen footage. The lights dim. The crowd cheers. A handheld camera focuses on the stage as the band Great White starts playing. Sparks shoot upward from pyrotechnics. At first, people clap, but then the ceiling catches. Small flames lick the roof. Nobody reacts. The camera keeps filming. The fire spreads. The band plays on for a few seconds, unaware. Then panic. The crowd surges toward the exits. The lens jerks, capturing faces twisted in terror, smoke filling the frame. The cameraman stumbles, coughing, still recording. He makes it outside. He turns back. The club is engulfed. People pound on blocked doors, trapped inside. 100 died that night, 200 injured. The footage is disturbing because it begins like any other concert video. Just fans capturing their favorite band. But halfway through, it turns into a document of mass death. The cheers become screams, and the music becomes silence. The video is brief. A passenger films out the window as the plane descends toward Buffalo. Snow falls outside, soft against the glass. Inside, people chat casually. The mood is relaxed. Then the plane jolts. The camera shakes. A woman gasps. The sound changes. Engines sputtering. Metal straining. Passengers look around nervously. The person filming whispers something, their voice trembling, and then the footage cuts. On February 12, 2009, Colgan Air Flight 3407 crashed into a house on approach. All 49 people on board, plus one on the ground, were killed. The video is horrifying because of its ordinariness. Just a snowy descent. Nothing strange, until everything changes in seconds. Watching it feels like being inside the cabin, sitting next to strangers who have no idea. These are their last words. A Japanese morning show plays on screen. Hosts smile at the camera, chatting casually, laughing at small jokes. The studio lights are bright. Everything feels light, normal, safe. Then the table shakes. The mugs rattle. The hosts freeze. The cameras keep rolling as the building trembles violently. The lights swing. Papers scatter. The hosts duck under the desk, panic breaking their smiles. The screen shudders, the feed cutting in and out. This was January 17th, 1995. The Kobe earthquake. Over 6,000 people were killed, tens of thousands injured. The footage is chilling because it captures the exact second a normal broadcast becomes a disaster. One frame, laughter. The next, fear. The contrast is unbearable. Joy erased in a blink. The video is dim. A flashlight beam cuts across the cramped interior of a submarine. Men sit huddled together, writing on scraps of paper. Their faces are pale, tired, but calm. Someone films quietly, the camera barely moving. They know they won't survive. This was August 2000. The Russian submarine Kursk sank after an explosion. The crew in the rear compartments survived for hours, maybe even days, waiting in the dark. They wrote farewell notes to their families, and they recorded themselves. The footage shows no screaming, no chaos, just silence, acceptance. The camera pans once across their faces, then it shuts off. All 118 men died. The tape was later recovered. Watching it now is unbearable, because it doesn't feel like history. It feels like sitting in that room, surrounded by men who knew every second was their last. Layer 7. The Abyss. The darkest, most vile pre-disaster footage. The camera pans across the field. Colombia is under pressure. The World Cup has not been kind to them. Andres Escobar, their star defender, looks focused, calm. Then the moment comes. He slides, his foot connects. The ball spins into his own net. The stadium erupts. American fans cheer. Colombian players bury their faces in their hands. Escobar stands still. He doesn't scream, he doesn't argue, he just stares at the ground. The camera zooms in, catching his face. It's pale, blank, like he already knows what this means. The match continues, but it doesn't matter. That one mistake costs Colombia everything. After the game, TV crews replay the goal, over and over. Commentators analyze it. Fans react with anger. Escobar writes a calm article in a Colombian newspaper urging people not to lose hope. He believes football should bring joy, not hate. But just 10 days later, in Medellin, he's shot outside a nightclub. Witnesses say his killer shouted the word "goal" with every bullet. The game footage is chilling now, not because of the ball rolling into the net, but because you're watching a man's death sentence, disguised as a mistake on the field. His last game, his last walk across the pitch, his last look into the lens before everything changed. It's not just a replay anymore, it's a countdown. Families crowd the runway. Children sit on their father's shoulders. Vendors sell snacks. The mood is electric, alive. A camera pans across the crowd. Flags waving, faces smiling, eyes turned toward the sky. Then the jets appear. Tight formation, sleek, perfect symmetry. The crowd cheers. The planes roar overhead, looping gracefully. The cameraman zooms in. For a moment, it looks flawless, but then one jet drifts. Too low, too fast, the nose dips. The plane cuts straight toward the crowd. There's no time to scream, no time to run. The camera lurches violently as the jet slams into the stands. The screen fills with smoke, debris, chaos. The tape goes dark. 80 people are dead, hundreds wounded. What makes this footage disturbing is the innocence it begins with. Children waving, families pointing upward, smiling at the planes. Seconds later, those same faces are gone. It's not just a crash. It's joy ripped away in front of thousands, preserved forever on film. You don't see terror coming, but when it arrives, it doesn't stop. The footage looks harmless at first. A group of men in white robes sit in a circle. Some chant softly, others smile and laugh. A few stare into the camera, their expressions calm. Too calm. This was Aum Shinrikyo, the doomsday cult preparing for their attack on the Tokyo subway system. In the recording, nothing looks violent. There are no weapons, no signs of what's coming, just chanting, singing, smiling. But hours later, those same men walked into crowded trains with packets of sarin gas hidden in newspapers and bags. They punctured them with sharpened umbrellas. Within minutes, 13 people were dead. Thousands were choking, blinded, collapsing onto the train platforms. The video is hard to watch today because it doesn't look like a killer. It looks like ordinary men at a prayer meeting. But you know those calm faces are about to unleash chaos on strangers underground. That's the true horror. Evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it smiles into the lens, pretending to be normal. The camera shows the gym. Kids are scattered around, some running in small circles, laughing. Others sit on the floor, chatting quietly with each other. Teachers walk by, looking at clipboards, talking in hushed tones. Everything is normal, but then the door slams open. The camera barely shakes as armed men storm in. Their faces are cold. The guns they carry are raised high, the barrels gleaming under the dim lights. The camera captures the terror in their eyes. The children freeze. They don't move. Some scream, others cry, clutching each other tightly. The teachers try to protect them, but there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. The camera doesn't move. It just watches. Cold, detached. The kids don't know what's happening. They don't understand why their school, their safe place, has turned into a nightmare. The camera records it all. The faces twisted in fear, the footsteps of the armed men moving closer, the sounds of sobs and whispers. This was September 1st, 2004. The first day of school in Beslan, Russia. Over 1,000 people taken hostage, half of them children. The siege lasted 3 days. By the end, over 300 people were dead. The CCTV footage is disturbing because it doesn't capture chaos. It captures stillness, the innocence of children, unaware of the evil that's about to take them. The safety they thought they had, gone in an instant. And the worst part? The camera doesn't flinch, it doesn't look away. It just keeps recording as everything they knew disappeared. The film is grainy, black and white. The harbor in Nova Scotia looks calm. Workers move crates. Ships rest in the water. People gather near the docks, watching casually as smoke rises from one ship. The camera lingers. The smoke grows darker. More people appear in frame, pointing, curious but calm. No one runs. No one suspects. That ship was the SS Mont Blanc. It was loaded with explosives. On December 6, 1917, it detonated. The blast was the largest man-made explosion before the atomic bomb. Nearly 2,000 killed instantly, thousands more blinded or torn apart. An entire city was destroyed. The film ends before the explosion. That's what makes it unbearable. You see the harbor, you see the smoke, you see the people standing close, unaware they are seconds from being vaporized. Every person on that dock is gone, and the camera keeps them alive only long enough to remind you of that. The morning news begins like any other. Christine Chubbuck sits behind the desk, her script neatly stacked, her hair perfectly brushed. She looks calm, professional. The cameras roll. She starts reading the headlines. Her voice is steady, measured, almost casual. Nothing in her face betrays what's coming. Then she pauses, shuffles her notes, and says something strange. In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts, you're going to see another first. And then she pulls a revolver from under the desk. One sharp movement, a gun raised, a shot. The screen cuts to black, static. It happened on July 15th, 1974. Christine became the first person to die by suicide on live television. The station tried to bury the tape. Only fragments remain, whispered about, passed down in rumor. What makes this video so disturbing isn't the act itself. It's the calm before. She spoke smoothly, like she had rehearsed every line. Watching those final moments, you realize her composure was part of the performance. She wanted the world to see her last words. And they did. The security footage is grainy. The hallway looks quiet. A man walks into view, followed by another man. They're laughing, carrying bags. They seem like friends, just hanging out. The door closes behind them. Nothing unusual. Hours pass. The camera doesn't move. The hallway stays silent. Then the door opens again. This time, only one man walks out. His face is calm. No rush. His hood pulled tightly over his head, his hands holding trash bags. He walks casually down the hall, not looking back. That was Luca Magnotta. The man who entered with him was Junlin. But Junlin was never seen again. What happened inside that apartment? It was caught on another tape. A tape too horrific to show. Magnotta killed Junlin, dismembered his body, and filmed it all. The tape of the murder was too graphic for the world to see. But the CCTV alone is disturbing because of how normal it looks. Two men walk into an apartment. One never comes back. Magnotta walked out casually, just like he was going to throw out the trash. His calmness is what makes it terrifying. Because evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like a normal person going about their day, like a neighbor running errands. Magnotta was eventually caught. After fleeing to Europe, he was arrested in Berlin. In 2014, he was sentenced to life in prison. But for those who saw the footage, it felt like a nightmare. The tape haunted them because Magnotta didn't look like a killer. He looked like anyone you might pass on the street. And that's the most chilling part. The killer didn't seem out of place. He was just a man walking away from his crime. The footage is shaky. A father films the shuttle preparing for launch. You hear children laughing in the background, their voices high with excitement. "There it goes," someone shouts as the Challenger lifts into the sky. The rocket trail cuts across the blue. The family cheers. The father zooms in, capturing the white plume. For a moment, it's pure joy. Then the trail splits. A fireball blossoms in the sky. The children go quiet. One asks softly, "What happened?" The father doesn't answer. His breathing grows heavy. In the distance, you can hear the announcer stammering, trying to explain. The recording doesn't stop. The father keeps filming as the white smoke twists into the shape of a broken cross. Nobody cheers now. The only sound is wind and a faint sob. This is what makes the family camcorder version so disturbing. The news broadcast felt like history, but this feels personal. You're not watching tragedy from afar. You're inside someone's memory, a happy family trip that turned into horror in a single minute. And the silence of the children is worse than any scream. The arena is loud. Thousands of fans cheer as the WWF event begins. Cameras pan across the crowd, capturing excited faces, signs held high. The announcers talk fast, building the hype. Then the stunt begins. Owen Hart is supposed to descend from the rafters on a harness. Fans point upward. Some clap. The spotlight follows him. But something goes wrong. A slip. A fall, a body dropping fast. The impact is off camera. The main feed cuts immediately, but in the stands, home camcorders keep rolling. The crowd goes silent. No one moves. A few scream. Paramedics rush into the ring. Wrestlers break character, gathering around. Minutes ago, it was entertainment. Now, it's real. Owen Hart died that night, May 23rd, 1999. The official broadcast never showed the fall, but those shaky fan recordings, muffled gasps, the sudden hush of thousands, the weight of realizing what just happened, are far more disturbing. The silence of the arena is unforgettable. In wrestling, silence never happens. Except here, because everyone knew this wasn't part of the show. And once you've heard that silence, you can't forget it. Layer 8, familiar but not viral. The dashcam is shaky. Traffic moves slowly across the bridge. Cars pass one after another. Then a semi loses control. It smashes through the guardrail. The trailer skids sideways. The cab tips forward and stops. It's hanging. The cab dangles over the Ohio River. The driver is trapped inside. The windshield looks down at nothing but water. She can't move. She can't climb out. The only thing keeping her alive is a twisted piece of steel. Police arrive, sirens echo. You can hear her voice on the radio. She begs for help. She says she feels the truck shifting. Then the rope team climbs down. Rescuers lower themselves slowly, trying not to shake the cab. One wrong move, and the whole truck will fall. The video cuts between the crowd gathering on the bridge and the rescuer tying himself to the cab. Finally, they pull her out. She's crying. The camera zooms as she's lifted away, leaving the cab still dangling, waiting to drop. The video feels wrong to watch, because for every second she's trapped, one small crack, one broken beam, and she would have fallen hundreds of feet into the river. The deck camera shows calm waters. People lean on railings, chatting, enjoying the evening. Suddenly, a man climbs up. He's quick, determined. Before anyone can react, he jumps. The water swallows him. Panic spreads. Crew members blow whistles. Passengers scream. Someone throws a lifebuoy, but the current drags him away. The ship keeps moving. For minutes, nothing. Just black water. Later, reports revealed he had been drowning in debt. over $16,000 lost in the ship's casino. He chose the ocean instead of facing the money. The clip is short, but it stays with you. 1 second, a man standing on deck. The next, nothing but waves, and the ocean doesn't give back what it takes. The crowd is excited. A concert is about to start. Cell phones wave in the air, lights glowing. On stage, the band prepares. The cameras focus on the crowd. People laughing, kids on their parents' shoulders, friends cheering. Then the wind picks up. The stage roof sways. The lights tremble. Suddenly, the entire stage collapses forward. Screams fill the night. The camera jolts, falls to the ground, capturing only feet running and people shouting. 7 people died. Dozens were crushed. Watching the footage feels like watching a normal summer night suddenly break apart. 1 second, excitement. The next, chaos. The phone doesn't stop recording. You hear heavy breathing. You hear someone cry out for help. And you realize the camera captured not just a concert, but a disaster no one in that crowd will ever forget. Texas fertilizer plant explosion. A man films a fire from his car. He's calm. You hear his kids in the back seat asking questions. He reassures them, "We're fine. Just watching." The fire burns quietly in the distance. Smoke rises. It looks almost controlled, almost boring. Then, a flash. The camera shakes violently. The car rocks. The children scream. The explosion is massive. Windows shatter. The man shouts, telling his kids to get down. The camera spins wildly before cutting out. 15 people died that day. Hundreds injured. The video is disturbing because of the way it changes. In 1 second, it's calm. A father filming a fire. Next, it's chaos. The sound of children screaming as glass rains down is almost unbearable. And it happened without warning. 1 quiet second, then everything gone. The CCTV shows an apartment block at night. Lights glow in the windows. Some people are still awake. You can see shadows moving inside. Then, an orange flash. The building rips apart. Walls crumble. Windows burst outward. In seconds, half the structure is gone. The camera keeps recording, showing dust filling the air, cars buried in rubble, alarms echoing faintly. Rescuers later found that it was a gas explosion. Dozens of families were crushed where they slept. The footage is terrifying because it feels so normal. A quiet building, families inside, and then, without warning, gone. The silent lens never looks away. It just records the end of an entire building. The video begins like any concert. Music is loud. A crowd of mostly students pack into the Kiss nightclub. You can see the glow of phones raised above heads, lights bouncing in the smoke-filled room. Everyone is laughing, moving to the beat. Then, a spark. It shoots upward from a flare on stage. At first, it looks small, harmless. People cheer, thinking it's part of the show, but then the flames crawl across the ceiling foam. Smoke thickens. Within seconds, the room changes. What was a concert turns into chaos. The cameraman coughs, shouting. You hear others screaming, pushing toward the doors. But the exits are narrow. Guards block some, believing people are trying to leave without paying. The crowd crushes itself. The camera tilts wildly, showing bodies pressed against each other, a girl crying, a man banging on a locked door. The filmer drops the phone. The lens hits the ground. You see only shoes trampling past, hear coughing, desperate cries. The audio distorts as the air fills with smoke. 242 died, hundreds more injured. The footage is painful because you watch joy turn to terror in less than 2 minutes. At the start, cheers. At the end, silence. And the camera doesn't lie. It shows every second of people trapped in a place that should have been safe. The CCTV angle is fixed. You see shoppers stepping onto the escalator. Normal day in a mall. Mothers, children, bags in hand. Nothing unusual. Then a young mother steps on with her small son. The ride moves upwards smoothly. The boy laughs, gripping her hand tightly. At the top, the metal panel beneath them shifts. Her reflex is immediate. She throws her son forward with both hands. Workers rush, grabbing the boy's arms, pulling him to safety. The child cries, reaching back, but the mother is gone. The camera shows the hole still open, gears grinding, the escalator chewing at itself. Shoppers scream, running in panic. Workers try to stop the machine, but it's too late. Reports later confirmed she was crushed inside the machinery. Her body wasn't recovered for hours. The footage is almost unbearable to watch. No sound, just cold movement. A mother saving her son in her last seconds. One push gave her child life, but it was also the last thing she ever did. The clips are shaky, recorded on phones by students. You see teenagers sitting on the floor of their cabins. They're joking, laughing nervously as the ship tilts. Some smile into the lens, others make faces. The loudspeaker announces, "Stay where you are. Do not move." The students obey. They trust the adults. They whisper to each other, debating whether to leave. Most decide to stay. The camera captures them gripping rails as the tilt grows worse. Backpacks slide across the floor. Bottles roll. The laughter fades. Some start to cry. But they're calm. Too calm. The crew's voice repeats the order. Stay in your cabins. The recording cuts as water begins to seep in. 304 people died. Most were students. The footage is chilling because you know what's coming. They followed instructions that doomed them. They sat there, waiting, obedient, when they should have run. The camera shows them alive, and knowing they never walked off that ship makes every smile look like a ghost. A storm rages outside. A worker films lightning flashing across the sky from inside the Mayfield candle factory. You hear laughter in the background. Co-workers joking about the noise, saying it looks bad, but it will pass. Then the roof groans. The metal bends. Screeching fills the air. Suddenly, the entire ceiling tears open. Debris falls. The camera jerks violently. People scream. The filmer gasps, dropping the phone. The last image is darkness and dust. 8 workers were killed. Dozens trapped under rubble for hours before rescue. The video is haunting because of the normalcy before it happens. Just employees joking about a storm. Nothing unusual. Then in seconds, they're buried alive. The laughter you hear at the start, once you know what happens, becomes almost unbearable. It's not just a storm, it's the last sound some of them ever made. Perm, Russia nightclub fire. It looks festive. The video shows a crowded birthday party inside the Lame Horse Club. Balloons hang from the ceiling, sparklers light up tables, and music drowns out everything else. People clap and shout happily, the camera panning across smiling faces. Then the sparks reach the ceiling. The flame grows, crawling along the decorations. No one reacts at first. Some guests clap harder, thinking it's part of the performance. The camera zooms, capturing orange light spreading across the roof. Within seconds, smoke pours down. People finally realize. Screams fill the audio. The crowd surges. The filmer runs toward the exit, but the doorway is already packed. Dozens of bodies jammed together. The camera jerks violently, coughing audible. You hear people crying, banging on walls, desperate to escape. The lens catches one man on the floor, trampled by others. Then the screen goes dark. 156 people died. The footage is terrifying because of how fast it happens. Balloons, laughter, sparklers, gone in less than 2 minutes. When you watch, you feel trapped too. And the worst part? Everyone was smiling just seconds before. No clue it would be their last smile. Travel gone wrong. The camcorder shakes as passengers whisper nervously. The cabin is tense. 3 men with weapons have hijacked the plane. You can hear them shouting in the background, demanding fuel. The pilot speaks calmly over the intercom, begging the hijackers to understand. The plane doesn't have enough fuel to make it, but they don't listen. Hours pass. Passengers film each other, faces pale. Some clutch hands, others pray. Children cry quietly. The cabin tilts. The engines sputter. The plane begins to descend fast. Screams fill the air. The cameraman points toward the window. Ocean water rushes closer and closer. You can hear the hijackers arguing, yelling in panic as the crew tries to control the descent. The impact is violent. The plane slams into the Indian Ocean, splitting apart. Water floods in instantly. The footage jerks, people crying out, before the tape cuts to static. The video is haunting because it's real time. You see calm passengers 1 minute. The next, chaos, drowning, silence. Watching it now feels like sitting in the seat with them, waiting for the water to swallow you whole. And the worst part, the camera doesn't lie. It shows fear no words can hide. The video was found later, recovered from wreckage. A tourist films out the cabin window as the plane descends toward Guam. Rain streaks across the glass. The clouds are thick, lightning faint in the distance. Inside the cabin, voices are calm. Flight attendants move quietly. People check seatbelts, prepare for landing. Then, a sudden jolt. The plane shakes hard. The filmer whispers something in fear. The descent feels too steep. Outside, there are no lights, only dark mountains. The camera tilts, catching faces in the aisle. Eyes wide, mouths open. Screams erupt, metal groans. The filmer drops the camera. The screen goes black. Only audio remains, crashing, tearing, then silence. 228 people died. The video is disturbing because it doesn't feel dramatic. It feels quiet, almost peaceful, until the end. Watching it, you feel the dread build slowly, every second heavier, until it finally breaks. And then, nothing. Just a tape found in the wreckage, proof of the final moments no one was meant to see. The video shows families waiting at a ferry terminal. Children play near the edge. Vendors sell snacks. The cameraman pans across the crowded walkway. Nothing seems unusual. Then the structure shifts. The walkway groans. Metal bends. Suddenly, the entire platform collapses into the river below. Screams fill the air as dozens are thrown into the water. The camera jolts, tumbling with the crowd. You see splashes, arms flailing, people trying to climb onto debris. The filmer gasps, coughing as water covers the lens. The screen goes blurry. The sound of chaos fills the audio, cries for help, children screaming, frantic splashing. Then, silence. Dozens drowned before rescuers arrived. The video is horrifying because it feels so ordinary at the start. Families waiting for a ferry, just like any day. Then in seconds, the ground vanishes beneath them. The calm of the river turned into a graveyard in less than a minute. Tourists board a small plane, filming their excitement. The cabin is cramped, but spirits are high. The camera captures smiling faces, people chatting, pointing out the window at mountains. The plane begins takeoff. Engines roar. The filmer laughs, nervously. Everything looks fine. Then smoke. It billows from the wing. The cameraman zooms in, confused. The plane tilts violently. Passengers scream. The camera jerks. Faces panicked. Voices frantic in multiple languages. Someone shouts a prayer. The screen goes blurry as the plane plunges. Seconds later, the tape ends. 18 on board were killed. The footage is chilling because it starts so light-hearted. Tourists on an adventure, excited to see the Himalayas. Instead, the last video becomes proof of their final terrified moments. Every smile in the footage belongs to someone who never made it home. The video begins on a crowded street in Manila. A tourist bus sits parked, police cars surrounding it. Cameras roll, not just CCTV, but live news crews, bystanders with phones, everyone filming. Inside the bus, you can see shadows moving. Hostages press against the windows, waving frantically. Their faces look pale, terrified. The hijacker, a former police officer, paces with a rifle. Hours pass. The cameras don't cut. Reporters talk casually at first, broadcasting every moment. Then the gunfire begins. Sharp cracks, flashes inside the bus, screams echo through the glass. Police rush in, fumbling. Their equipment jams. The cameras zoom closer. Through the windows, you can see blood splatter across the seats. Hostages slump forward. Some try to crawl, but the gunman fires again. The news doesn't stop. The world watches as people die in real time. By the time it ends, 8 people are dead. The bus is a mess of shattered glass, bloodied bodies, bullet holes. The surviving passengers stumble out, crying, their clothes stained red. The video is disturbing not only because of the violence, but because of the way it was filmed. Not hidden, not censored. It played live on TV, across the world. You aren't just watching a crime, you're watching death broadcast like entertainment. The footage starts cheerful, music plays, hundreds of young people dance, covered in colorful powder tossed in the air. The camera moves across the crowd, smiling faces, laughter, neon clouds drifting under stage lights. Then it happens. The stage sparks, a flash ignites the powder. In seconds, the entire crowd is on fire. Flames race across the dance floor like gasoline. The camera shakes violently as people scream, their bodies covered in fire. You see a girl's hair ignite instantly, her arms flailing as she runs toward the lens. The filmer gasps, backing away, but doesn't stop recording. People collapse, skin burning, clothes melted to their bodies. Some try to rip their shirts off, but it's too late. The flames cling to them. The screams are endless. Hundreds run in every direction, some falling, others clawing at their skin. The lens captures horrific detail. Black smoke, charred limbs, people stumbling with faces burned beyond recognition. Over 500 were injured, many with life-changing burns. The footage is disturbing because it begins with joy, a festival, a party, young people celebrating. Then, in seconds, they become victims of a human firestorm. And the camera doesn't look away. It shows bodies turning to ash before your eyes. The dashboard camera shows the inside of a bus. Passengers sit quietly, chatting. A child giggles. Outside the windows, the Andes Mountains pass by, steep cliffs dropping straight down. Then the bus jolts. The driver swerves. The tires screech. Someone shouts. The camera rattles violently as the bus tips. Passengers scream, grabbing for rails, clutching each other. The windows show nothing now but sky, then earth rushing upward. The impact is brutal. Glass shatters across the screen. Bodies are thrown forward. The camera captures blood, splattering in the front seat. People cry out in pain, some not moving at all. The screen flickers, still recording the chaos. Injured passengers moaning, others silent, slumped in twisted positions. The clip ends abruptly as the power cuts. Dozens were killed instantly. Others died waiting for rescue on the mountainside. The footage is disturbing because it's so raw. No time to prepare. 1 second, laughter and small talk. The next, horror, broken bones, blood, silence. And the lens captures it all. The sound of life, snapping in half.